Welcome to the Healers Café, conversations on health and healing with Manon Bolliger, a retired and deregistered naturopathic physician with 30 plus years of experience. Here you will discover engaging and informative conversations between experienced healers, covering all aspects of healing, the personal journey, the journey of the practitioner, and the amazing possibilities for our own body and spirit.
So welcome to the Healers Café. And today I have with me Cynthia Brace, and she is a whole health and lifestyle coach for motivated people. And I'm going to ask you about that. I mean, that, you got to say who you're working for. Otherwise, people aren't that interested. Anyway, so through her share of frustrating health challenges, she became a registered holistic nutritionist and also author of Redesign Your Interior, 8 Steps to Reclaiming Your Health and Creating a Balanced Life. I'm going to leave it at that and welcome you. And
Thank
well,
you.
I guess I'm going to ask you only what you want to share, but how is it that your health challenges ended up really, I guess, being used for the good in the end?
Yeah.
They created the next part.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me here. And yeah, absolutely amazing question. I think it really comes down to that for a lot of people who want to go into the health and wellness field. So realistically, I had a doctor tell me she couldn't help me. That's kind of where my journey really started. It was a really long time ago. And I wasn't feeling all that great. I was, irritable, and I had trouble concentrating. I was dizzy. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm working right at my career. And I'm like, I can't be like this. So I went to go see my doctor, and she told me she couldn't help me, which is absolutely true. Because what I had was more of a lifestyle challenge, what I was doing every day, eating and, movement and whatever. So I had hypoglycemia. So I had regularly low blood sugar, which was causing the symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And absolutely, she couldn't give me anything for it, but it didn't help me. Right. So I left that appointment, and I was like, okay, I'm a little lost. I don't know what to do. And you go through all these emotions, and it's like, I got to okay, fine. You know what? I'm just going to do this myself. I'm someone who loves to learn. And so that's what I did. I started to read all the books on, hypoglycemia, health and wellness and mindset. I took classes at the naturopathic college. I took Reiki. I took reflexology. And throughout this whole process, I had changed how I was eating, what I was eating, movement. I was changing my whole lifestyle. So by the time I got to training to be a holistic nutritionist, I didn't have hypoglycemia anymore. And even better, the asthma and the allergies that I had before that even happened were pretty much non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these changes that I made in my lifestyle, it blew me away how different I felt.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why I went into holistic nutrition to be a registered holistic nutritionist, because I was like, oh, I want to help people with this, because this is life-changing.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder how many people, like you, when you first started this journey, you go thinking that the doctor who, is basically trained to manage diseases, not cure them, not get to the root of them, not talk about your what you eat or how you're made up or what you think and how it affects you and etc. Really just basically prescribing pills, more pharmaceutics to move you along a long management process that really has no end in sight, so I can imagine the way you said your story is like, now what, but I wonder how many people at that point give up, or do they then say, okay, are there anyone studying this, or or how can I study it, either or. But
yeah, I have clients come to me, thank goodness they don't, give up, and they are angry. They're angry that their doctors don't know these things. And, I'm a come at it with love kind of person. So I was like, okay, well, you have to understand where they are coming from and where their training comes from. They're trained to do a specific thing. Doctors are great for that specific thing, right? But they're not trained in, the diet and the exercise and like all of the, supplements where a naturopath, like you did for 30 years, like it's a different training. So the way I talk to them is like, okay, try to understand where they're coming from so that you're not angry. We don't want to be in a place of anger, right? So there is amazing people in this world that can help you along your journey. You just have to kind of be a little curious and find the right people to work with.
But it really shows how, this, the prevalence of thinking that your doctor, this white coat, phenomena, is supposed to have all the answers. It's like that we're so ingrained with that belief that it's quite shocking, and you go, well, what is it that they study? I mean, they do not study health. It's like, and even the anatomy, most of all of that is done on, cadavers, right? It's not on functional anatomy, which is why if you go in for back pain or all that, besides anti-inflammatories, they can't really tell you what's wrong either, right? It's just not what they study. But we are brought up to believe that they know everything that, about us, the body, the healing, and it's like, I think that has been broken a little bit more in the last few years, thank God. And not against them. I think there is a place, but you got to know, you don't go to a butcher for a vegetarian meal, it's like, you got to figure out where you're going to go.
I love that. That's so good.
And I don't mean,
and you're, I know what you mean.
Some of the most useful things they do is surgery, actually. Yes. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I find it depends on, your age of how much you're kind of relating to that doctor in the white coat. Because yes, certain people were raised to say they know, don't argue with them. And to me, it's not an argument, it's discussion. For me, it was like, this is my health, my body. So I can go and have a second opinion. I can go and have a second opinion from anyone on this planet. It doesn't have to be somebody in the white coat. And I fully believe, like in my book, I have like, who's got your back? The whole chapter on like, it's a health team. Like I'll see a doctor, but then I'm going to go see other people for their speciality, right? So it's not just one person that's going to help you with everything. It's just not feasible.
So how did you get the diagnosis of hyperthyroidism?
I just told her my symptoms and she just said, this is what you have. There was no test done. So I was like, okay, well, let's work with that. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful because I was able to take a journey that has led me to be here and to be able to help people create healthier lifestyles. And that's what I focus on is lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
so yeah, I mean, it's like that lifestyle is a funny word. Some people are like, well, what does that actually mean? Right. So to me, it's like, it's unique to everyone, right? It's your way of living, right? It can be like, how and what you eat, sleeping, exercise or not, whether you manage stress or not, can include your thoughts and your beliefs. So it's like your everyday habits, your everyday kind of way of living. And, that can change. Like for me, before I saw the doctor and after, it totally changed.
Yeah.
So you can have a healthier lifestyle, or, what you're kind of, if it's not working, then maybe it's not as healthy as you'd like it to be.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned like 8 steps, right, to reclaiming your health. I'm assuming it's like your health and lifestyle that is connected, right? Is that something that you found applies to everybody and to different or lesser degrees, or what are those 8 steps, or what would you like to share on that?
Well, realistically, like I wanted to put in some steps that people can take. When people come to me, sometimes they have some of these things down. Like some people are like all about the exercise. They love to move their body. Like they've got that down, but they just can't figure out the other pieces of the puzzle. They can't put it together to make their full healthy lifestyle, right? So whether it's like, I think I'm eating healthy, but I'm not sure. Like, what's wrong? Why can't I get to my goals, right? Or some people have that down and they don't know how to move their body. So it's like really pulling together all of these pieces. And a lot of the pieces, it's like how your environment works, how you're thinking, how you're feeling, your thoughts and your beliefs. I spend more time on that probably than anything, because your mindset is really what moves you along. The mindset, if you can tweak what you're thinking, what your beliefs are, if you can even become aware of them, that's really the starting point. So every person that I see, there's always a discussion, because you can hear that like, oh, I didn't even realize, I wasn't aware of that. So there's a whole awareness process that kind of happens first. And we just move along, what people need to work on. And yeah, as I said, one of my chapters is who's got your back. So it's, it's finding that health team, because it's not just one person that's going to help you with everything.
So what do you, or from your experience with helping people, what's the part that you find most people are most out of sync with?
Well, I mean, the diet industry is a huge challenge, mentally and physically, right? I mean, a lot of people come to me because they want to, just lose weight, right? And it's this whole mentality around it. And let's be honest, diets are hard. They are not fun. My diets, you have to suffer through them, and you feel deprived. And the challenge with the diet, though, is you have a start date and an end date, right? And most people will do everything to whatever degree they can in between that time frame. The problem with that is it ends, right? Yes. So a diet is like, I have an end date. Everyone's so happy. It's done. They're excited, whatever results they got. Now I can take a little breather. I can stop exercising so much. I can go back to eating my favorite foods. And they go back to the lifestyle that they had before, which wasn't working to begin with. Right. So that is the challenge. And, what people come to me a lot for, it's like, well, I've been doing these for so long, but I'm not getting results. Right. And that's where it comes to be, well, if you focus on your lifestyle and learn how, what to do every day and every week, and we're tweaking those habits and we're taking away the pressure, take away the pressure of a diet or losing weight. I'm like, it's going to happen, but we're not focusing on it. Let's focus on being healthy. Let's focus on the little steps, the things that we do all the time, our lifestyle to be healthy. Take away the pressure. And that a lot of my people have a challenge with the mindset around that. Oh, this should be hard. Vegetables shouldn't taste good. Oh, I shouldn't be eating this much. These are the things that I hear, but yet they do these things and they're like, my pants are looser. Like, ta-da, magic. And I feel better and I'm sleeping better and I have more energy and I have no pressure. And now I know what to do for the rest of my life. Focusing on lifestyle is how you do that. And it can tweak, you can change, like, you know, you have certain goals and they'll change throughout your life. So you just tweak what you're doing. That's why focusing on lifestyle is so much easier in the long run, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it makes, plus it's as much as permanent, which is not, but you know, it has a sense of, you know, you're incorporating it. But so let's say, have you found that, because there's lots of different lifestyle choices that people make, right? I mean, there's people that are literally carnivores and have found that their entire everything is better. And there's, you know, I don't think I've met any vegans that are totally healthy. So I'll take them out. But you know, there's people who can't, or say they can't eat gluten, and others, they say that, you know, well, you need to have some other sort of starches, and, you know, and it's like there's so many different, you know, theories out there. How do you work with that with people?
Absolutely.
They obviously come in with a habit that doesn't work. Otherwise, they wouldn't be asking for help.
Yeah.
And I think, do they usually think that the habit is healthy? That's what I mean. Yeah. So let's start with those, because I mean, there's the people who eat junk food and you tell them not to, and not to do Coke, and they do much better. But those are easy-ish.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a mindset, but I'm thinking about all the well-meaning, healthy people that still have candida, and they have this and they have that, and they're like, what on earth, you know? How do you deal with those?
You know, and that is like, everybody's different. Everybody has a different lifestyle and different health challenges. So, you know, somebody who, you know, doesn't like gluten or is a vegetarian. I mean, you know, you hear vegetarians who don't eat vegetables, right? I mean, some teenagers try vegetarianism. I'm like, hold on a second, wait a minute, you're missing the point here. You still need nutrients. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you have to be careful with that. But yeah, I have clients coming to me who are like, I can't figure it out. I'm trying to do all of these healthy things. And it's just, again, if you're not trained, if you don't go to school to learn how to kind of put together the puzzle, it can be hard, because a lot of people are listening to the media and what they're saying is healthy.
Manon Bolliger here, and I want to thank you for taking actionable steps towards engaging your healing journey and helping others discover their path by watching, sharing, subscribing, and reviewing these podcasts. Every review and share helps spread the word, these different perspectives and choices and options for healing. And to thank you, I'd like to invite you to sign up to my free 7-sequence email tips on health and healing for everyday life. You can go to healerscafe.com tips. Thanks so much.
Which changes all the time. You know, this is good for you. Oh, hold on a second. No, it's not. Yes, it is. So it changes all the time. It can be so confusing. And then people use, you know, the internet as their health coach, which is, you know, there's a lot of great information. And again, not so great information and very confusing and not specific to them as a person. So, you know, people like that, you know, if you're seeing a health coach or, you know, a naturopath or what not, they're going to take a health history. They're going to figure out, you know, what's happened in your life and what's, going on with you, what your health challenges are, what your goals are. And that's kind of where we start. And I know, I'm not a food tracker. I don't, think that people should track food for the rest of their life. But as an awareness tool, you have to kind of become aware of what's happening right now. Because once we understand, like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm eating, then we can look at it and say, oh, interesting. I didn't realize this was happening. I didn't realize this. And that's where kind of the learning comes in. And they're like, wow, I didn't. And now we just make this one tweak and they're like, oh my goodness, really? It was just, it shouldn't be this, easy a lot of the times. So it's awareness, like what's going on and what do we need to tweak? Yeah. And, not using the kind of internet to kind of figure that out, because the internet isn't specific to you as a unique person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and when you mean awareness, you mean like noticing the impact of the food immediately and the next day, and the impact on your sleep and your digestion, and because not all foods have an immediate reaction.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Some things can affect you, a day later. And awareness is like, how much you're going to the washroom, because that has a huge effect on your health. And right. So we do a little kind of at-home test of what's actually happening there. Awareness. Mm-hmm. So the more that you become aware of things like the physical things, and then we start to become aware of our beliefs and our thoughts, that's where we spend a lot of time as well. So it's like, when I talk to somebody, so say somebody had constipation and they've been constipated for, most of their life, say 10 years or whatever. So I'll ask them, do you believe that it is possible to not be constipated?
Right. Let's
start there. Right. And, they think about it and they're like, no, I don't believe it. And I'm like, perfect. Great. Now we have a starting point. So let's come up with something that you do believe. Do you believe it might be possible? Maybe. Think about, yes, it might be possible. Great. As long as we have that as a belief that there's a starting point, it might be possible. That's your belief now, right? So as we work, together and move forward and things start to change, we check in with the belief until it gets like, whoa, hold on a second. You know what? I actually do believe it now. I believe that it's possible that I don't have to be constipated, right? So we have these beliefs and sometimes we're not aware of them, right? Do you believe that you can, fit into your sexy jeans without having to suffer, without depriving yourself, right? Because nobody wants that, Focusing on your lifestyle takes away that pressure. So yeah, it's again, awareness of your thoughts and your belief, how you're talking to yourself. Right. Because a lot of people are like super mean to themselves when they talk about, right? So it's more of those internal thoughts and realizing what they're saying, because if you said those things to your best friend, you wouldn't be best friends anymore. Right.
Yeah, not true. Yeah.
So it's noticing those things and saying, okay, hold on a second. If I was saying this to my best friend, what would I say? You'd be supportive, you'd be loving, you'd, do everything you can to help. So do that for yourself. Right? Turn it around. And that's kind of, the self-care and self-love.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Have you ever had to fire anyone?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, as you said in the beginning, for motivated people, right? Yes. And I say that because sometimes, again, people are at different stages in their life. Sometimes you're ready and sometimes you're not, right? And that's where the motivation comes in. But if you're if you think you're ready, you can start working with somebody and it's like, okay, well, I thought I was ready, but I'm not there yet. And I'm absolutely on board with things like that. Because let's be honest, this takes conscious thought. When you're tweaking your lifestyle or making any changes in your life, it's going to take up brain power. Because right now you're coasting on your subconscious. Your subconscious has full control. You get up in the morning, you do what you do, you go through your day. Most of the time you're half asleep, right?
Yeah.
So by doing these things, you have to kind of like pause. Oh, pause. I need to pause for a second and become aware. Oh my goodness. Interesting. Isn't that interesting? So it takes a little more brain power. So if you're at a time in your life where you're like, oh, I just changed jobs and I moved and like too many things going on at once, now is not the time to kind of be doing stuff. Yes, start to eat healthier, try and do what you can, but it's not the time to kind of really dive in deep on that stuff because you need to have a little bit of bandwidth. You need to have a little bit of headspace to do that. So sometimes I'll say, wait a month or two, come back and let's dive in when you're ready.
And yeah, no, that's a good, I mean, good. It's your answer, but I tend to agree with it. No, because it's not, even though people feel like they want to, they may not be actually prepared to do what it takes, even if it's not a diet. It's still, like you say, it takes brain power. Another question I have for you. So how do you deal with people's, it's a self-sabotaging belief, but where they actually have trained to believe that it's self-care, that it's really good, that they deserve something that really they shouldn't be having because they reacted. This could be like, a great piece of sourdough bread with butter. It could be a glass of wine. It could be, it could be any of those things or many more, right? Or it could be, I think sugar by itself, most people kind of know that it's not ideal, but even that could be well, I deserve my token, sweet or whatever. So how do you deal with that? Because that gets complicated, right?
I love this question. I'm of the mind where you have to live your life. It's not about suffering or depriving yourself. People are going to get there. And, I work with people, and again, this stuff doesn't happen overnight. So I work with people, on a long-term kind of basis. I have a 12-week program that I start with because it's like you need that time. And sometimes, it takes a little while. I'm supportive of people, and sometimes they can't. Sometimes it's a discussion we have more than once and then it clicks and they're like, thank you for being supportive while I was working through this in my mind to get there. Right. So with things like, if they want a glass of wine on the weekend, unless there's a reason where you're on a specific, and I don't do this until later on, if we're on a cleanse and it's like, we're focused on something specific. If you want a glass of wine on the weekend, have a glass of wine on the weekend, right? It's more like in my mind is, it's more of the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, do the steps, do the things, love yourself, honor yourself enough to give yourself that gift of health, to take that time and, effort and, resources to do that. But, it's your birthday, have your cake, right? And, if you're on holidays, it's like, people are like, oh my God, what do I get? They get stressed out. It's like, hold on, back up. Yes, you're going on holidays, but this is your lifestyle. Do you think that your lifestyle is going to stop when you're on holidays? No. you're still going to go for a walk. You're still going to have vegetables on your plate. You're still going to drink water. Sure, you're going to enjoy yourself a little bit more, but nothing's actually changing all that much, just where you are in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So again, unless somebody has like an allergy or, you know, where they
right.
really shouldn't have something, it's more of a discussion, like, you know, and as we work along, they usually make the decision themselves to change. Oh, you know what? I don't really want that anymore. I don't really feel that I'm not going to have that all the time anymore. I might have it. Oh, you know what? I don't even want it anymore. As we work along, it usually happens naturally.
No, that's true. The desires change as your health.
Yeah.
So, you know, that makes sense. I had another one for you. What was it? It came and then left. Well, couldn't have been too significant then. That was about self-sabotaging. I asked about that. Oh, I know one. Yes. What about people who just don't believe that exercise is helpful? Because there is schools of thought that, you know, we need to walk, but exercise is actually overrated and blah, blah, blah. Right. So what about people like that?
Again, very interesting. Well, you know, I've had people say certain things that they don't believe certain things are, you know, healthy or are needed or whatever. Well, usually in instances like that, you know, certainly with drinking water, like I don't believe you need to drink all this water. Well, you know, we're made up of 70% water and we, you know, get rid of it in all these different ways. So in those instances, a lot of the time you can go back to the science. Right? It's just like, you know, well, scientifically, you know, if you move your body, this is what happens physiologically. This is what happens in your body when you exercise, right? You know, it's good for your heart. It's, you know, your endorphins go up. It actually makes you happier. But it doesn't have to be in a way that you don't like. With regards to exercise, I always say, find something you like to do. I honestly don't care what it is, you know, although for women, I will say resistance train, it's good for your bones. You don't want osteoporosis. So, you know, I try and help navigate them along that path. But other than that, like do something you love, like try a belly dancing class, for goodness sakes, just, you know, have a good time with it. Because it doesn't have to be at a gym. It doesn't have to be rigid. And it doesn't have to be all at once. Like you can exercise throughout the day. Like I'm at my desk, I'll get up and I'll do like 15 squats because I've been sitting for an hour, right? That's exercise. I'm moving my body, right? I'll go do some stretching. I'll go, you know, if you're making dinner, you're waiting for something to boil. Hey, jump up and down, do some dancing, put on, you know, some music, move your body.
Right. I'm getting invaded by sun. Okay, no, I think I've also all my typical questions that, you know, people come up with when I was in practice.
I love it.
Answered them, including anyone you've had to fire, anybody that you haven't been able to help, where you don't think that they're sabotaging, you know, or being untruthful to what they were actually doing.
No, not to that extent. Like I've had people, you know, we take it so far and then they're like, no, that's wrong too. I mean, realistically, changing your lifestyle is going to change your life, right? It's just going to change how you feel. But sometimes, again, people aren't ready for the change. They're actually afraid of the change. I'll put it that way. That's kind of what I was getting to, because some people relate so much to their health challenges that it becomes a part of them. It becomes a part of their story. So they're afraid if that health challenge goes away, how are people going to relate to me? How is my family going to relate to me? How am I going to relate to other people? So there's this fear around that. And that's kind of what we kind of have to navigate around as well. It's that conversation about like, what's holding you back? What are the changes? I've had clients come back and, you know, we've had to work through that because they kind of regressed a little bit and they weren't. So we had to kind of work around, oh, I didn't realize that that's what I was thinking. So how do I change that? Right. So, and again, that's based on each individual, what their specific challenge was. But, you know, if it's regard to your family, make them a part of the process. If you don't feel like you're going to leave them behind, make them a part of it. So yeah, everybody's a little bit different. And it's like, you know, working through what that challenge is. I actually have a really fun quiz for people if you want to check it out. It's called What's Your Unique Health Personality? And you can discover your unique strengths in creating a healthy lifestyle. So you can check that out at cynthiabrace.com/quiz. It's super fun.
All right. Well, Cynthia, thanks very much. And you're a good sport. And just, you know, ask away and off you go.
Thank you. It was really interesting. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for joining us at the Healers Café with Manon Bolliger. Continue your healing journey by visiting thehealerscafe.com and her website, and discover how to listen to your body and reboot for optimal health.